Spider-Man.
2099.
No, stop it. Don't do that again.
Just keep going.
Spider-Man.
2099.
No, we just talked. Don't do that.
No, you're fine. Keep going.
Does whatever a spider can.
2099.
No, I didn't even say Spider-Man. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, he is the Spider-Man.
2099.
Okay, stop. I need this Geek History lesson to be in session on Spider-Man 2099 because I'm really confused. Hello and welcome to Geek History Lesson. I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And I'm Jason Alchemax Inman. Welcome to the world of 2099, where podcasting is the future and holograms are everywhere. Yes, we are entering the world of 2099 for today's Geek History Lesson, the podcast where we teach you about one character of pop culture and explain it to you. And today's character is who, Ashley?
Spider-Man 2099.
2099.
I want you to know that during that introduction, I almost said that I was Jason Inman.
That's because you're in the world of 2099.
I guess so.
Okay, so we're doing Spider-Man 2099 because he's supposed to be having a new series coming soon, but Secret Wars keeps getting delayed, so we have no idea when that series is going to happen. But he's still one of my favorite comic book characters of all time.
So that's why we're talking about him.
That's why we're talking about him. So let's jump right into the first section of our Geek History Lesson podcast, the 10-cent origin.
Yes, the 10-cent origin is the part of the podcast where we take all the basic constructs, creators, powers, team affiliations, and nicknames that you need to know in case you go to a really cool spider-themed cocktail party and someone's like, yo, what's up with the Spider-Man 2099 guy?
All right. The 10-cent origin of Spider-Man 2099 is he's published by Marvel Comics, of course. His first appearance was in The Amazing Spider-Man number 365 in August of 1992.
Oh, he's a youngin' by comparison of the Geek History Lesson.
And he appeared in a 5-page backup. Cool. He was created by Peter David and Rick Leonardi. And he, of course, is based upon the original character Spider-Man created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
Right.
His alter ego is Miguel O'Hara.
Cool.
His team affiliations are Exiles, and his abilities are superhuman strength, speed, and other things. I actually going to tell you more about
We're being intentionally vague?
Yes, I'm going to tell you all about his abilities as we come.
Cool.
As we move along into the podcast.
Is he Spanish and Irish? Is that why he's Miguel O'Hara?
He is Spanish and Irish. Stop getting ahead of the lesson. The only thing I will tell you about his abilities are he wears an indestructible costume that actually has an airfoil web that allows him to glide. So it sometimes seems like he can fly.
Oh, that's cool.
So he just glides really well. Kind of like Batman Beyond, except he doesn't have rocket boots.
Aww.
So next we're going to move into the meet cute. Ashley, what is the meet cute?
Well, the meet cute, Jason, is a word that we stole from romantic comedy writing where we tell you the first time we met this character and how cute it was.
Ashley, where did you meet cute Spider-Man 2099?
Well, like 2.5 years ago, I met Jason Inman.
Who's that?
He's this DC hosty internet guy.
Oh, God. Such a DC fanboy, but he hates Marvel.
Yeah, probably. And he was like, I'm reading Spidey 2099 and I'm super excited about it. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And I knew nothing about Spider-Man 2099. So then I took to the trusty Google and was like, oh, Spider-Man from the future, got it.
Had you never seen his image before? Because he has a very recognizable costume, the red and blue.
I had, but Spider-Man is something that I kind of read in fits and starts.
Okay.
And, like I'll binge a couple trades in a row, and I just never read a lot of the auxiliary characters. It didn't have any interest in exploring them. And then they made girl ones, and I was suddenly interested in them. I can't even imagine why that's a thing. And I wasn't reading a lot of 90s Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So most of my Spider-Man reading has been either the really vintage stuff or like 2004 onward.
Got it.
So yeah, I'd seen pictures of him, but I'm sure I sold one of his comics, but I just don't remember ever hearing about Spider-Man 2099 before I met you.
Got it.
So where did you first meet Miguel O'Hara?
Well, I met Spider-Man 2099 in a place that I met a lot of characters in the 90s.
Batman the Animated Series.
No, I didn't meet hardly any characters in Batman the Animated Series. In Walmart. because
Not Wizard?
Walmart in the 90s was cool because it had a comic book rack in the toy aisle.
Nice.
And it was awesome. And most Walmarts had these. And they didn't get rid of them until like 96 or 97. I think when Marvel went bankrupt is when they got rid of them.
And Marvel and Walmart, who I know are ardent listeners to this podcast, bring that back.
Yeah, why not?
Bring back the spinner rack.
Like, it wasn't a spinner rack. It was actually just a double rack that hung on the toy shelves.
Oh, it wasn't even like a waterfall rack?
I don't know what a waterfall rack is.
Like in the kids section at Earth 2, that's a waterfall rack. We're getting real inside baseball. It's okay. It doesn't matter that much.
No, it was this two like comic racks, like metal racks that hung on shelves. And originally the one that I went to in Chanute, Kansas, had one up by the registers, and then they had one in the toy aisle. Eventually they got rid of the one by the registers, and they just had the one in the toy aisle, and then eventually the toy aisle one disappeared too, which sucked. But it's interesting because I can remember specifically, like we did Kyle Rayner. Yes. Kyle Rayner, I found him at the one by the registers.
And you liked, oh really?
Yeah.
And where did you find 2099?
Spider-Man 2099 was in the toy aisle. Now, I was attracted to this because I had no idea. Wasn't really a Spider-Man fan. I actually think I read Spider-Man 2099 before I read an actual Spider-Man comic
Before you read Peter Parker?
Yes. I knew who Spider-Man was. I knew there was a cartoon, but I'd never read a comic book. And issue 1 of Spider-Man 2099 came out. And here's the thing about the Walmart comic racks, all right? Comics didn't sometimes get changed out a lot.
Okay.
And sometimes it wasn't quite monthly.
Right.
So comics would just sometimes sit there. And I remember going there multiple times and seeing this really cool designed guy with blue and red stripes with an amazing mask. His mask is so awesome. And the cover had a red border, a shiny red border with this like weird techno thing.
Because it was the 90s?
Yes, but they did that on all the first issues of all the 2099 titles. Like,
that's cool.
Like X-Men was blue, Ravage was green, and Doom was silver.
Oh, I've seen the Doom one. Yeah.
But Spider-Man was red, and I remember being like, oh, I really want that, but I didn't have money for it. And luckily, my mother bought it without me knowing it, and gave it to me for Christmas one year.
Aw, had you pointed it out to her multiple times, or was it just good fortune that she picked it up?
I pointed it out to her more than once.
That's cool.
More than once. I think I flipped through it several times too.
That's a good parent.
Yeah, so I got it early, which was really cool. So that's how I got into Spider-Man 2099, and then I sporadically read his next 46 issues. Because I could never get them in order, just whenever I saw one there, I bought it. But let me tell you, it went from like 1, 5, 8, 15, 32, 42. Like, I only had like 8 issues of his entire 40 issue run.
Oh my God.
So I had some big hole, and it wasn't until later that I started finding the comic books online and doing stuff like that, that I was able to like fill in most of the. Now I've read most of it. There's still a big gap in the 30s that I haven't read.
Yeah.
But I hope to one day.
So if anyone's looking
that.
for a Christmas present for Jason, all of Spider-Man 2099 issues in the 30s.
Sure. Let's move on to History 101.
Yes, the main meat of the lesson, where Jason is going to divulge everything you need to know about Spider-Man 2099 in the next hour or so.
No, I'm sorry that meet cute was a little long, but Spider-Man 2099 has a soft place in my heart.
I think that's cool.
He was a Christmas gift to me, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Now, Spider-Man 2099 was one of the many Marvel characters that was reimagined for the Marvel 2099 comic book line that was all about reimagining figures of the Marvel Universe in the 2099 universe.
It was kind of like a precursor to the Ultimates.
Now, the idea is that this was supposed to be set a century after the current Marvel Universe, although the current Marvel Universe at that time was in 1992, but just go with it.
Yeah.
Okay. At launch, they launched 4 books. It was Spider-Man 2099, Punisher 2099, Ravage 2099. Now, Ravage is like this weird... Here's the thing. Ravage is not a great series.
Okay.
He wears a green costume. He has a long mullet. And the original issues were written by Stan Lee. That was the big deal, is that they convinced Stan Lee to come back to comic books and write Ravage. It's not a great series. It really sucks. And Doom 2099. Now, Doom is a big deal because this was right after Doom and Reed Richards blew up. If you remember from the Fantastic Four Geek History lesson, they basically blew up. And they were saying in the series that this was where Doom went. When Doom exploded, he traveled through time and landed in the 2099 universe. So this was the real Doom.
That's cool.
Here's the thing. They never confirmed it.
Of course not.
So we don't know. I say yes. I say that is Doctor Doom.
Okay.
Because it's cool. It's whatever. Soon the 2099 line became very popular and was expanded with 2099 Unlimited, which is the skip week book that a lot of Marvel titles did. There was Spider-Man Unlimited, X-Men Unlimited, all of them. Fantastic Four 2099, which starred the time-displaced Reed Richards as well.
Yes.
Ghost Rider 2099, Hulk 2099, X-Men 2099, and X-Nation 2099.
Oh, man. X-Nation.
Yes. Now, while it has been confirmed, the 2099 universe, as a possible future version of the Earth 616, the main Marvel universe, the 2099 universe was officially designated as Earth 928 eventually.
Yeah.
But it now has started popping up as future Earth 616
in a couple different stories.
In a couple stories, and we will get to that.
Cool.
Now, the Spider-Man 2099 was originally designed by artist Rick Lenardi, and Peter David was brought on the series as a writer to flesh out the character. Spider-Man 2099 #1 was written by Peter David with penciled art by Rick Lenardi, inked by Al Williamson, and lettered by Rick Parker. And Spider-Man 2099 #1 is the highest-selling single issue of any comic ever written by Peter David.
Cool.
So it is his highest selling comic. So now we got the publishing history. We're going to go to the fictional history. But I will tell you, 2099 universe is weird. We're going to pop back out into the publishing universe.
Okay.
We will come. Miguel O'Hara is born in New York City many years after what many people in his history call the end of the heroic age, which is the modern day era of Marvel heroes, as I said before. He grows up with his mother, Cochata, his younger brother, Gabriel, and his abusive father, George O'Hara. So his father's Irish, his mother is Hispanic. Now, to tell you a little bit about the world of 2099, 2099 has flying cars and looks a lot like Blade Runner.
Okay.
Yep.
I can go with that.
Yep. North America is a corporate police state that is actually ruled by mega corporations. Now,
so Trump got elected.
Yes. So the interesting thing about this is that at the time, I thought it was ridiculous. I didn't think 2099 would actually be our future, but I don't know. Mega corporations, right?
Yeah.
The biggest corporation, of course, is Alchemax, which owns the private police force, which is called the Public Eye. Now, prior to the start of Spider-Man 2099 #1, which is the one that launches the world, there are no active superheroes in this world.
Okay.
And the previous heroes from the heroic age, the Avengers and all of them, they are mythologized through religions, such as the Church of Thor. The X-Men also have one, too. Like, the X-Men and the mutants are regarded, and there's always people out there being like, I'm a mutant. And there's debates about who's a real mutant, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
Does Wolverine have his own church?
I don't think Wolverine's ever mentioned.
Well, I'm assuming he's a pastor.
Now, here's the thing. This is a lesson on Spider-Man 2099. I have not read all of X-Men 2099.
No, I was making a joke about him being immortal. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Got it. In the 2099 universe, the monetary currency system uses implants known as cards, which are credit ID implants. There are aluminum cards, gold cards, platinum cards, and another type of card are black cards, which basically gives the owner unlimited funds and...
Oh, so just like a black card.
Yep. And immunity from laws.
Oh, so just like real rich people.
Yep.
Okay.
There is also a status in this universe known as decred, which denies access to many public places, such as hospitals, hypermarkets, and shopping malls because you're basically broke.
Wow.
Yep.
That's so depressing.
Yep. Now, let's get into talking about Miguel O'Hara.
Okay.
Now, Miguel O'Hara is a prodigy-level intelligence.
Okay.
But he's very rebellious. And he is an adolescent when he is awarded enrollment into the Alchemax School for Gifted Youngsters. Now,
I see what they did there.
It is never confirmed, but it is heavily suggested that this is Xavier's house, the X-Men headquarters, because it's also in Westchester.
Ah.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Now, of course, the school is owned by the powerful Alchemax mega corporation, which controls law enforcement. But here at this school, he befriends Xena Kwan.
Okay.
Xina. I'm just going to call her Xena. Or Xina? You think Xina?
It could be, if it's Chinese, it could be a sh sound or a zh sound.
It probably is, because she is Asian.
So...
How should I say that?
I don't know. I'm not Asian. Gina. Sheen. It could be Sheena.
Sheena?
Say Xena. That's what you're comfortable with.
Sheena. I'll just say Sheena. Let's say Sheena. I'm sorry and I apologize.
Like Xin Zhao is Xin.
Now, I looked up because Spider-Man 2099, as I've said, well, I'll say in the future, actually. We're talking about the future. He appears in a couple video games.
Yes.
And I did watch the video game clips to make sure that I said, like, Alchemax, right? Mm-hmm. And Miguel O'Hara. Sheena, as we're going to say.
Cool.
As far as I know, doesn't appear in any of these video games. So I don't know.
We're going with that.
Sheena.
Yeah.
Okay. She is also a girl who is just as smart as Miguel. And she's very good at computers. And actually, Sheena, helped Miguel defend himself from a bully at the school called Cron Stone. Cool. Now, Cron Stone is the son of Tyler Stone, who is basically the head of Alchemax.
Okay, so he can kind of get away with what he wants.
Exactly. Now, after school, Miguel and Sheena date until Miguel cheats on her with Dana D'Angelo.
What a piece of garbage.
Miguel is a piece of garbage, but he is.
You're really selling me on this lesson.
Miguel is a piece of garbage until Spider-Man.
Okay.
That's the point.
Okay. You Tony Stark model.
Yes, he's very similar to Tony Stark. Yes. So Miguel cheats on Sheena, sorry, my apologies, with Dana, who is actually the girlfriend of his brother, Gabe.
Gross.
Gabe O'Hara. Yep. Who actually, Gabe has long hair and likes to wear goggles on his head. Just visual reference. There you go.
I'm imagining me looking like Cisco Ramon.
Yeah. So eventually Miguel and Dana get engaged. And Miguel is very arrogant and he's very confident, but he's also a very private man, and he only trusts one person in his entire life, and that is Lila.
I know who that is.
Do you know who Lila is? Tell me who Lila is.
Lila is the hologram who lives in his watch, and she makes comments about his clothing.
Yes. She eventually lives in his watch. Originally, she only lives in his apartment. And she looks like,
really?
And she looks like Marilyn Monroe. She's an all yellow version of Marilyn Monroe. Now, you find out eventually that Lila was designed by Sheena, because she was a computer, and a gift to Miguel.
Oh, that's cool. As like a helper.
Yes, yeah. She's like the ultimate like Alfred.
PA.
Yeah, totally.
The ultimate Alfred.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. Now, Miguel eventually becomes the head of the genetics program at Alchemax, and he intends to create new corporation-controlled super soldiers. Of course,
that sounds like a good idea.
Well, in the Marvel Universe, of course, it's all about creating super soldiers.
Yes.
So Miguel is specifically inspired to create a new Spider-Man.
Okay.
Because he's read all the legends and he likes Spider-Man the best. Mm-hmm. But after a human test subject dies during an early experiment, basically the guy melts. Like he turns into this weird monkey creature and he melts.
Gross.
Miguel tells Tyler Stone, the CEO, that he wishes to resign from Alchemax and he wants to just scrap all the genetics research because he thinks it's wrong.
Wow.
Rather than let Miguel quit, Tyler Stone tricks him into taking Rapture. Now, Rapture is a very addictive drug that genetically bonds to your DNA.
I know about that. Maybe from the X-Men book. I can't remember.
I believe I've told you about that before.
Okay, it's probably because you told me.
But Rapture, basically, you can never get over it. You're
like meth?
You're addicted for life.
Wow.
So Tyler Stone tricked him into taking this drug, and Tyler reminds Miguel that Alchemax is the only company legally allowed to distribute this drug. So if O'Hara doesn't remain with the corporation, then Tyler has to report him to the police because he's like, oh, you're an illegal Rapture user.
Oh.
So you'll go to prison. Miguel is infuriated by this, and he remembers that he once programmed his own genetic code into the Spider-Man machine that he was building.
Okay. Sure he did. Why not?
Because he used it as a human DNA test sample.
Yeah.
Now, intending to use this older template to imprint on his new template to get rid of the Rapture, he sneaks into Alchemax at night, programs his template in, hops in the machine. He turns it on, and his jealous assistant, Aaron Delgado, sabotages the machine while he's inside it.
No.
And actually switches his own profile with the Spider DNA program.
Okay.
And Miguel comes out of it. He's rabid. He's crazy. And he now has spider powers.
Cool. That sounds safe.
But what spider powers, you may ask?
What spider powers, I may ask?
Well, it's funny because Miguel is almost more powerful than Peter Parker himself. And now we're going to talk about his powers.
Okay.
Because now this part. He has superhuman strength. So he possesses the proportionate strength of a spider. And he's able to lift 10 tons.
Right.
Yep. He has superhuman speeds. He has superhuman stamina. He has superhuman durability. His body is denser and harder and more resistant to physical injury.
Oh, that's really interesting.
And he's able to withstand great impact forces. So, like, in future scenes, there are scenes where his web foils don't work and he hits the street.
And he survives.
And he's fine.
And that kind of reminds me of the idea that, you know, like spiders and bugs have exoskeletons. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's kind of...
Maybe so, yeah. He has superhuman agility. He has superhuman reflexes. He has accelerated vision. His vision is actually way better than any humans. He can see objects at great distances. He also has perfect night vision. And it is possible for him to see the infrared spectrum.
Wow.
Yes. So he can see people's body heats. He can see electricity. And also, what appears as a blur to most people, he can see perfectly. So something moving really fast, he can focus in on it.
So he can see Quicksilver running by.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. He has an accelerated healing factor. Mm-hmm. He has also a slow aging rate.
They always do that to healers. They always age more slowly.
I think it's because it's an interesting story device. Mm-hmm. Now, most importantly, he has talons and fangs.
That's disgusting.
So Spider-Man 2099, if you look at his hands, he has these little prongs that come off the tips of all of his hands.
Oh, like spiders have on their arms and legs?
Yes. And then he also has, like, they almost look like vampire fangs, but they're further back into his mouth. Mm-hmm. And so when he activates his spider powers, he gets fangs.
Gross.
And the prongs in his hands are responsible for his being able to stick to walls.
It's not a static thing?
Yeah, it's not a static thing. But they're also retractable. And also they're razor sharp. They're insanely sharp. And there are several scenes in the stories where he has them out and he accidentally touches somebody and, like, causes, like, a grievous wound on them.
Oh, really?
Yes. He also has organic webbing. Mm-hmm. And this was before the Spider-Man movie. So technically he's the first Spider-Man to have organic webbing. He has high endurance. Doctor, one time in a scene, he broke all of his ribs, and he had a head fracture, and he was able to stand back up and walk out of the hospital. And the doctor was like, any other man would be in a coma for 6 months.
Yeah.
Spider sense. Now, originally, Spider-Man 2099 did not possess a spider sense, warning him of impending danger. However, Madame Web temporarily passed this power on to him. And now he has a spider sense.
Cool.
So there you go. And
so he's sort of psychic, like 10 seconds in the future.
Yes, just like Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And he has something called an accelerated decoy, which means that he can move so fast that he can leave an after image of himself that many enemies will attack.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
That's very
So
interesting.
that makes him a little bit different. So his powers are... He's much more powerful than Peter Parker.
I found that... They created Peter Parker, right? And they gave him these cool powers. And then every time they make somebody else, they always have to do something that makes them better than the Peter Parker skill set. Because the Peter Parker...
You mean it's like Miles' ability to be cloak?
Yeah, or like Silk can spin more smaller webs, more fibrous things. So her web slinging is better than anybody else's.
Hers are stronger.
Yes, and she can like weave her own clothes. So they always
Does Spider-Gwen have something else?
Spider-Gwen, because she doesn't actually. She's the only one because she's the spider character of her universe. She has the Peter Parker skill set. But anyone that Peter's going to be reacting to in his universe has to be a little bit better than him.
Well, that's the reason, because it's like when you're a movie producer and you're casting a movie, you're not going to cast 5 white guys with a beard because
let me direct your attention to the Entourage movie.
Let me finish my point. Because even in the Entourage movie, they have different ethnicities and they have different heights and they have different characters. It's the same in comic books. If you're creating a Spider-Man, you're going to make him a little bit different, or else everybody's going to be like, wait a minute, isn't that the Spider-Man? No, this is a different Spider-Man.
Yeah. I just think that's interesting because we did a lesson on Miles not terribly long ago, and I remember being like, he basically has the Peter Parker skill set, but he's got this one thing that makes him cooler.
The only commonality is the Entourage movie is that they're all assholes.
Yeah.
There you go. Now back to Miguel.
Cool.
Now Miguel, he realized apologies, not Miguel, Tyler Stone.
Cool.
Tyler Stone, the CEO of Alchemax, realized that somebody used the Spider-Man machine.
I bet it's that fellow who runs it.
Actually, no. Tyler never puts it together. Tyler Stone never puts it together. Although to everybody reading the book, you're kind of like, it's kind of obvious.
Is Tyler kind of the J. Jonah Jameson of this universe? Is he anti-Spider-Man, or is he more like the Norman Osborn?
He's the Norman Osborn.
Okay.
Although he never becomes... He is mainly the book's villain.
Okay.
But... he never puts on a costume and throws pumpkin bombs. Does that make sense?
Right, totally. Yeah.
He's like a Lex Luthor.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So he realized somebody used the Spider-Man machine, and from his footage, he sees that it worked. Because Miguel immediately started using his powers because he was like kind of like brainless and crazy a little bit.
Yeah, but he was like enshrouded in shadow or whatever.
Yes,
so.
of course. Or the steam, of course, so he couldn't see his face. So Tyler Stone sends agents to hunt this person, and they eventually track him down to Miguel's apartment, or that the person is going through Miguel's apartment, is which they do. And it's actually a very funny scene. So to conceal his identity while he fights his pursuers, Miguel dons a bodysuit with a full face mask that he once wore for the Mexican Day of the Dead festival.
That kind of explains the more extreme pattern on his face.
And why it's kind of a skull.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of a ridiculous costume to say that you would have wore that Day of the Dead.
It's cool, though.
Yeah.
It's a very cool costume.
And actually, the first time he puts it on, he's actually in his apartment, and he's yelling at Lila to open the windows. And Lila's like, for safety reasons, I can't open the windows. And so he like crashes through the window. and then he's like, oh, my wet foils will work. They'll stop, won't they? And you just see this panel where he's like, keeps going down. He keeps going down. He keeps going down. And then thump.
Oh, no.
And that's the first time he put on the costume.
Awesome.
Now, his costume is the only clothing that he has that is made of UMF, unstable molecule fabric. Because in the future, Reed Richards sold his formula for unstable molecules.
Of course he did.
And it's the only clothing that he owns that can't be torn by his spider talons.
Oh, cool. So that's useful.
Yeah. After seeing him operate in public, a group of Thorites, the worshippers of the Church of Thor, they come to believe that Miguel is the legendary Spider-Man back from the dead. They call him Spider-Man. And he is the harbinger of Thor's eventual return from Asgard. Yeah. Now, originally in Miguel's adventures, he was very obsessed with just curing himself. Like, he didn't want to be Spider-Man full time. He was like, I'm just going to be Spider-Man long enough to, like, figure out a cure for myself.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to cure myself. But he realizes during his adventures of Spider-Man 29 that he sees a lot of the public eye keeping the man down and stopping them from doing stuff. And he realizes that he was very blind to how the world of 2099 actually is. And
like outside of his bubble? That's
yes, exactly. His corporate world. And when he finds out that his mother, who hates everything to do with corporations and hates the corporate persona that he puts on in public, she really admires Spider-Man.
Oh.
So he decides to finally embrace his identity of Spider-Man because of his mother. And while donning his costume during one adventure, he publicly proclaims himself to be an enemy of all mega corporations, saying that he will use his powers to fight for ordinary people against those in power who abuse their influence and authority.
Awesome.
So there you go. In a future adventure, Miguel discovers that an arrogant scientist at Alchemax called Jordan Boone is conducting virtual unreality experiments to create a doorway into another dimension. Now, again, virtual reality was very new. Oculus Rift was very new, or
90s.
Didn't exist.
Yeah.
There is like a virtual world that you can walk into, and they put on helmets with goggles.
Yeah.
There's a very famous cover of Spider-Man 2099 where he has like a different costume. And he's like wearing roller skates and stuff like that. And that's Miguel's persona.
Okay.
When he enters it, and he has like a cyborg, a Cyclops visor. It's weird.
Cool.
But you can Google it. If you Google like Spider-Man 2099 covers or like Spider-Man 2099 with roller skates, I guarantee it'll come up because he has roller skates. So there you go.
Iron Man had roller skates.
So he goes into this virtual world, and these experiments eventually release two mysterious figures: the Net Prophet, who calls himself the Prophet of Thor, and a powerful megalomaniac called Thanatos. Excuse me.
Hey, Thanatos.
The Net Prophet becomes a mysterious ally to Miguel.
Interesting.
But since the Net Prophet is believed to be Thor's prophet, his association with Spider-Man 2099 leads people to believe that Spider-Man 2099 is the harbinger of Thor.
Right.
Yep. And actually, later on in Peter David's Captain Marvel series, in an arc called Time Flies, it is revealed that the net prophet is actually the hero Justice from the Avengers.
That's interesting.
Now, if you remember, we talked about Best Avengers team ever. We talked about George Perez, Justice. He was a member of the New Warriors.
Yep.
That's who the net prophet is, which is interesting. And that Thanatos is a corrupt alternate reality version of Rick Jones from Earth 9309.
Interesting.
So, but in the Spider-Man 2099 series, never explained who these people are.
This is all auxiliary stuff that's come after.
Yes, this is Peter David wrote this other series, and Peter David likes to have Easter eggs to his other stuff.
Yes, he does.
To stuff that he's written, which is I kind of like about Peter David.
I get it. It's your prerogative.
Yeah, totally. And then Fall of the Hammer happens. It's the first 2099 crossover. In the storyline, Miguel and Dana, because he's engaged to her, visit Alchemax's floating city, Valhalla, and they're startled by a sudden appearance of two men claiming to be Thor and Heimdall. It is later discovered that Alchemax CEO, Avatar, has transformed ordinary people into duplicates of the Asgardians in order to eliminate the rising influence of the new superheroes over the public. So Spider-Man 2099 joins forces with Doom, Ravage, and the Punisher. By the way, the Punisher at this time was Jake Gallows, and he had a weird costume.
Okay.
The X-Men, and they're able to defeat the fake Asgardians. And of course, Valhalla, the city, falls from the sky, and woo!
That's cool.
Yep. Miguel later learns that his brother, Gabe, knows exactly his identity as Spider-Man 2099.
Because he was like, I was at that Day of the Dead party with you, bro.
Exactly. Gabe was like, I was there at the festival with you. Of course I would recognize that costume. And Gabe actually has grown very resentful of Miguel in his career.
Miguel stole his girlfriend.
Yes, true. But Gabe's new girlfriend, Casey, is very enamored with Spider-Man 2099. So, of course, Gabe is like, again?
Yeah.
Damn it, Miguel, again? So, soon, Lila, his holographic aide, suffers a serious malfunction.
No.
Yep.
And they have to load iOS 10 and they don't want her to die and lose all her info.
Miguel asks for repairs from the only person that could help repair Lila. And that would be, Ashley, if you've been paying attention, who would that be?
His first girlfriend.
Yep. Sheena, yes. Dana finds out about this. Dana comes home, sees Sheena there, and accuses Miguel of cheating on her with Sheena. Because Dana's like, well, you cheated on her with me, so you're turning around.
Once a cheater, always a cheater.
Dana can't get over the fact that she was just over there fixing. Miguel was not cheating.
It was just totally
fix Lila. You built Lila, you can fix Lila. But Dana couldn't get over it, and eventually the two of them broke up. And Sheena and Miguel got back together again.
Stop it.
Yep. But soon, Ashley.
Soon.
Spider-Man 2099 meets a man who is very important to his history. A man that will change everything about him. And who is that man, Ashley? Do you know?
The person who canceled the series?
No. But I will tell you in a second once we get a word from our sponsors. If you go to patreon.com/Jawiin, sorry for the double fake listeners, that's where you can support this podcast. And that's Jawiin. And a contribution of just $1 keeps the lights on in the Mind University. Actually, there are other donation levels. A $3 donation gets you a GHL lesson a day early.
What?
A $5 donation gets you the ability to listen to an exclusive Patreon podcast called Geek History Lesson Extra. It's usually 20 minutes of us talking about the subject that we talked about, but with a more personal tone.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be 10 minutes long, and now it turns out it's 20.
Well, some episodes might be 10, but the average is 20.
Yeah.
So if you want 20 more minutes on Spider-Man 2099, then hop on over to patreon.com/Jawiin, Jawiin, and help support the show, not the show. And we want to thank all of our patrons for their support.
Thank you.
Because they're Spider-tastic. And now, back to the man that will change Spider-Man 2099 forever.
Breaking news in 2099.
Do you have any guesses, Ashley? Who is the man that could change Miguel's life forever?
Peter Parker.
You are correct. Peter Parker, the spectacular, the amazing, the sensational, the web of Spider-Man.
If it wasn't going to be Peter Parker, then it had to be some character I've never heard of.
Now we're going to jump into time travel.
Yeah!
In the 1995 one-shot, Spider-Man 2099 meets Spider-Man, very aptly titled. You knew exactly what you were getting with that book.
A little on the nose there, Marvel.
Miguel and Peter Parker, the Spider-Man of the heroic age, find themselves having switched places. Ooh. Miguel wakes up next to Peter's wife, Mary Jane, and Spider-Man...
And he's like, damn, I traded up.
Oh, yeah, I did. And Spider-Man finds himself in the future. They discover that their predicament is caused by Fukujawa in the modern age, and Alchemax in the year 2099. They are running experiments on a temporal energy generator.
Oh, so they're kind of talking to each other across time and space?
They're sort of working on the same machine.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, while Peter fights the Vulture of 2099, Miguel faces Venom Eddie Brock. And Miguel realizes that this temporal anomaly is what causes the end of the heroic age. This is what kills all of the Marvels. This is why they disappear from history. Now, the two Spider-Man characters united to fight this threat, and also a time-traveling female hobgoblin from the year 2211.
Oh, yeah, there is a lady hobgoblin.
Yep, from the alternate universe of Earth 9500.
Yeah.
Of course, they were aided by this hobgoblin's father, who was also traveling from time. And through all of this muckety-muck, the Spider-Men united, and they were able to save the day, stop all the temporal gobbledygook, stop the hobgoblin with the help of a hobgoblin father. And at the end of this adventure, Miguel realized that he had slightly altered his present world of 2099 since
time travel.
Well, since their actions had delayed the end of the heroic age.
Yeah.
Now, this is also what has implied that Marvel 2099 is also not the definite future of the 616 Marvel universe.
No, we live in a shifting liquid time stream.
Yes, and this is also the start of Marvel being like, oh, well, Marvel 2099 actually takes place on an alternate Earth.
Interesting.
But it also doesn't. So wibbly wobbly.
Yeah, for real.
So Miguel is back in his own time, and one time over eavesdropping on a conversation between his mother and Tyler Stone, the CEO of Alchemax, Miguel learns that the Rapture... Oh, and let me tell you, this is in Spider-Man 2099. I just so many numbers. Spider-Man 2099, number 25.
Okay.
Which had...
We're 25 issues in.
We're 25 issues in, and it had an embossed cover.
Ooh, so was it lenticular?
Define lenticular.
You know, it's raised and shiny and plasticky.
It wasn't really shiny. It wasn't really lenticular. I think the red was. I think his red was, but his blue wasn't.
Yeah.
But you could feel him. It was cool. So I bought this issue. This is one of the ones I was able to get. And I remember this. And this is a big deal. Even though I'd only been able to read like weird sporadic issues, this issue changes everything.
Okay.
In this issue, Miguel overhears as Spider-Man 2099 because he's following Tyler Stone for some reason I can't remember. But he ends up and his mother's there. And Tyler Stone tells his mother that the rapture that he gave Miguel in issue 1 was a short-lasting simulation and would have worn off after a couple of days.
Course.
And he was bluffing. So Miguel learns that the Spider-Man experiment he never had to do.
Yeah.
He also learns that Gabriel O'Hara is not his real father and that Tyler Stone is.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's some clone saga nonsense.
It's actually not, because there are a lot of little winks and nods and setups, because there's a lot of mentions that like Miguel doesn't really look like Gabriel, his father. Not Gabriel. George O'Hara, thank you. They're G names. He doesn't really look like George.
Interesting.
And I always like that reveal that Tyler Stone, and also explains why his mother really hates corporations.
Yeah. Oh, that's
because his father is a representation of those corporations. He's the head of one of these corporations. So, because of this, Miguel is like, screw the United States. I'm going to go travel the world because I can't deal with this. And him and Sheena go on a world tour.
Do they bring Lala?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. He doesn't really have the watch until the modern series.
Okay, so probably not.
I'm going to say no. When Miguel and Sheena come back to the U.S., they find out that Doom 2099 has assumed control over the United States and now controls all of its mega corporations. He invaded the United States in the future.
And took over the economy.
And now he's President Doom.
President Doom
of the world.
Great.
And at this time, each of the 2099 titles added the modifier AD, which was supposed to mean after Doom.
Oh, that's cool.
And they also so Spider-Man 2099 now became Spider-Man 2099 AD.
That's
and
cool.
I remember this very specifically because the next time I bought a Spider-Man comic book, they changed how the 2099 looked. So the 2099 originally kind of looked like kind of squared off and had a lot of little lines at it, like extra lines. Like it looked kind of like the cars from Star Trek: The Next Generation, the displays.
Yeah.
And it was very square. And when they added the AD, it became very pointy. So all the nines kind of looked like the text if you were to write Dr. Doom, do a title of Dr. Doom.
Yes.
And then they added the AD, and then there was this little circle with Doom's face in it, which I think was supposed to represent the world under Doom.
Yeah, that's weird.
But I remember seeing that after I bought the next issue and being like, what? What is this?
What does Tiny Doom
Yeah,
have?
what is going on, So, President Doom, he appoints Tyler Stone as Doom's corporate minister. And because of this, Tyler Stone makes Miguel the CEO of Alchemax.
Of course.
So now he controls the company that he's been fighting against.
Interesting.
And Doom 2099 offers Spider-Man 2099 the position of Minister of Supernormal Affairs.
Okay.
Because Doom wants to control the heroes.
Right,
and he's
keep
like,
your friends close.
And he's like, I admire you, come be, and Spider-Man 2099 refuses.
Good.
But Miguel does take the position as CEO, and he decides to change the company for the better. And he also uses his new influence to order law enforcement to leave Spider-Man 2099 alone.
Yeah.
But soon, after a couple months, I think maybe 6 months, I'm not sure how long Doom lasted, Doom was ousted from the White House, and Doom no longer controlled 2099. And
Yay!
Tyler Stone tried to return to Alchemax and claim his old job. And Miguel refused to return control of the company to him and basically swindled him out of the company.
Cool.
Tyler, at the last minute, trying to get one little thing of power, revealed that he was Miguel's father. And Miguel was like, yeah, I've known for a while. Get out.
I don't care.
I remember this scene as well, and I remember really, really liking it. So, next, Miguel encounters a modern version of Venom.
Okay.
The Venom symbiote, you find out it's still alive and it's slightly altered, and it takes on a new host body, and it actually attacks Tyler Stone.
Okay.
Currently being hospitalized because of this attack. And this Venom looks really cool. It has lots of little white little tubes hanging off him. It's actually, I think, much scarier because he actually has a real human face with red eyes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it's eventually revealed that this Venom is Kron Stone, the bully from his high school days.
Oh, it's just like Flash.
Yep. And during a later battle between Spider-Man and Venom 2099, Dana is killed.
No.
And there's a lot of ties and homages to this back to the Gwen Stacy death. And it's actually a very great issue. And it's actually the last issue of Spider-Man 2099 that I was ever able to buy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from the newsstands. That is the last issue, Dana's death.
Oh.
Because I was never able to find it, and they canceled the series. So, but next, after that, a new Green Goblin was introduced. Mm-hmm. And while this was interesting for the series, it was a little bit problematic because if you notice up to this point, Spider-Man 2099 kind of stayed away from reinterpreting the villains.
Yeah, from the traditional villains.
And I think because of the close approaching Cancellation, they were like, we need villains, sales.
More Spider-Man stuff.
And now we're going to talk a little bit about the publishing history because something that really sucks is going to happen.
Okay.
Now, Spider-Man 2099 at the time was consistently selling more than 100,000 copies per issue.
Wow.
But the book and the entire 2099 comic line underwent a dramatic shift in 1996 with the firing of the 2099 series editor, Joe Cavalieri. Now, at this time, Marvel was on the beginning of going bankrupt.
And selling all their properties to movie studios.
And sudden firings like this were quite common. And virtually all the writers of the line, including Peter David, chose to show solidarity, and they quit because Joey was fired.
That's pretty rock and roll thing for a bunch of freelancers to do.
So Peter David's last issue of Spider-Man 2099 is number 44. If you remember, the book lasts 46 issues.
Yeah.
So, Marvel turned the 2099 titles over to fill-in writers and artists, and the last 2 issues of Spider-Man 2099 were done without any input on Peter David, and the series was ended in 46. A few months later, because the 2099 imprint was still popular, Marvel announced that they would publish a new 2099 title, 2099 World of Tomorrow, where all the characters would just appear in one series.
So they only had to pay one writer and artist.
Yep. Now, this was a bi-monthly title that lasted 8 issues and was meant to serve as a finale for the 2099 line. Mm-hmm. But let's hop back into the last few issues of Spider-Man 29 because without Peter David, and then we're going to talk about the weird, very weird, and kind of stupid 2099 World of Tomorrow, because the finale they give to Spider-Man 2099 is quite bonkers, I think.
Okay.
But let's end Spider-Man 2099. And This is a little bit longer lesson, but I love this character, so shut up. Okay.
Okay.
Not you shut up. I meant the
No, I know.
The listeners out there, they're like, I don't like Spider-Man 2099.
I don't think they're saying that.
Well, let's hope not. If they are, shut up. Okay. Miguel, in these final 2 issues, confronts the Goblin again and learns that the Goblin is actually his brother, Gabriel.
Hard pass.
Yep. But their fight is soon put aside when Miguel learns that the Phalanx, or the Phalanx, is that how you say it?
Phalanx.
Phalanx. Thank you. I like to call it the Phalanx.
I know.
Approaches Earth, and because of their gravity causes, New York starts to flood. Why does bad Marvel events always start with flooding? But there you go. New York starts to flood, and it paves the way for the Atlanteans to come back from the ocean and be like, we're taking over the world.
Ooh.
The final 2 issues see the apparent deaths of Tyler Stone and Miguel's mother at the hands of the Atlanteans, and as Tyler Stone, as the Vulture destroys the Alchemax building. The final scene is Miguel, along with Dana's sister Jennifer, flying away in an Alchemax airship, trying to find a safe place in the world to go because the world is flooding because the Phalanx is coming.
But what about Sheena?
I don't know.
I like how they're just like, yeah, she's not all that.
Yep.
We're not that concerned.
It's kind of a dumb 2 issues, and
it sounds terrible.
And it's I have a feeling that it wasn't. I have a feeling it wasn't Peter David's idea to make the Green Goblin Gabe.
I feel like you're right.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about 2099, The World of Tomorrow.
Okay.
These 8 issues that are bonkers town. But let me get through this, and I want to say it because it's ridiculous.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Now, Miguel relocated with some human settlements back to the flooded New York, using bridges to travel through uptown high-rises poking up from beneath the waves, because the world is now flooded, and the only places above land is like New York buildings and like the Savage Land. Okay. Just go with it. Through Alchemax, Miguel is trying to work to restore civilization and to regain the lost technologies. He and Sheena are actually married in this book. Okay. There she is.
So she's somewhere getting a marriage license.
She just didn't get on the helicopter. It's all good. Yeah. And they discovered that Conchata, his mother, was actually alive, and that Gabriel actually wasn't the Green Goblin. It was actually a shape changer that was pretending to be Gabriel. Just go with it. They also successfully, during this time, located Steve Rogers, who happened to be in suspended animation since the downfall of the Heroic Age. They also located Mjolnir, the hammer of Thor. Mia. Yep, Mia. And, of course, the only one that could lift this hammer, Steve Rogers, Captain America. And Miguel worked with Captain America to bring back prosperity to the world. Now, eventually they wanted to travel into space and colonize space and do all this stuff, but they learned when the Watcher alerted that Earth's heroes that there was a barrier blocking them from the stars, and Miguel and other heroes traveled out to destroy the barrier. The barrier finally fell with the sacrifice of Utah and Captain America, because Captain America was thrown hurtling through space with no hope of recovery. So, like, kind of like Gravity, he did a thing and then he was like, "Oh, bye."
I mean, there's no forward momentum, but bye.
Yep. At the last moment, before he was out of range, he threw Mjolnir back at his allies.
Oh, well, that would give you some momentum.
And Miguel caught it and was able to wield it.
There's no gravity in space.
Just go with it. Although he was worthy to lift Mjolnir, this is the only part of this book that I think is cool. Okay. Miguel did not transform while wielding his power. And he eventually realized that, oh, this must mean that I'm supposed to be like a different type of warrior and leader. So Miguel,
I like that. That's nice.
So Miguel started leading the world and became the world leader. And he was amazing because he was able to solve arguments with the hammer. He would just put the hammer down on the table and be like, well, if you can lift it, you can make the decision. And nobody else could. So under Miguel's guidance, the Great Restoration of Earth brought peace and prosperity back to mankind. And by harnessing nanotechnology, the people of Earth ended all want, need, poverty, disease, and everything. And they became a new race of transhuman guardians and explorers, similar to the Inhumans. And they greatly extended the natural lifespan. See, this book goes bonkers town.
This goes like Kirby crazy.
Yep. And by the year 3099, Miguel O'Hara is finally retiring as acting chairman of Alchemax in the world, and he turns the reins over to a new generation. But in space, during a mission, they discover Steve Rogers still adrift in suspended animation for 1,000 years in space. And the two friends commiserate over all that has humanity changed. And Steve Rogers says that he's very proud of all that Miguel has accomplished. So that's the story that Marvel officially decided to give Spider-Man 2099.
My brain hurts a little bit.
Yep. But thankfully, Ashley.
Thankfully, Jason.
One man came along to change the history of Spider-Man 2099 forever. Who do you think that one man is?
Dan Slott.
You're right. You guys both of these. Well done.
I knew that one.
Dan Slott ignored all of that history.
Dan Slott is the king of Spider-Man.
Yep.
So.
And in Superior Spider-Man number 17, he brought Spider-Man 2099 back.
Yes.
And basically, he ignored the Phalanx invasion. And the book sort of picks up loosely around the Green Goblin. Like,
okay.
We don't know who the Green Goblin is, but it's somewhere after there. Dana's dead, whatever.
So he was basically like, Peter David is canon. Everything else is garbage.
Yeah, Peter David is canon. Everything else is... We're not listening to that. Okay. And this is what has made the 2099 world basically be the continuity of the Marvel Universe again. Mm-hmm. Miguel's future New York was plagued with numerous time distortions due to Wolverine breaking the space-time continuum and Brian Michael Bendis' quite dumb Age of Ultron storyline.
The one that they didn't adapt into a movie.
Yep. Miguel eventually discovered the distortions were coming from the past in the heroic age, and he eventually made his way to Alchemax, and that these distortions were causing Tyler Stone to fade from existence. Realizing that if his biological father would never existed, neither would he, Miguel as Spider-Man agreed with Tyler Stone to let Alchemax send him into the past. However, when he arrived in the past, he ended up having some trouble when he ran into Spider-Man, who Miguel at the time didn't know was Dr. Octopus in the body of Peter Parker.
Right.
Superior Spider-Man, kids, go read it. Because Spider-Man didn't recognize him. Because Spider-Man 2099 meets Spider-Man is in continuity. And Miguel was like, Pete! And he was like, who the hell are you?
Yeah. I will be a better Spider-Man. I will be the superior Spider-Man. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And actually, at the time, they reversed time. So Spider-Man 2099 stayed in the past, and Superior Spider-Man went to the future.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you don't learn this later till Spider-Verse, but Spider-Man 2099, he rewrites Lila and turns him into Anna Maria.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. And then he meets...
I love Anna Maria.
He meets Gabriel in the future. Mm-hmm. And Gabriel's like, oh, are you Peter Parker? Like, I remember you from that one special that we met a while back. And Doc Ock actually has to, like, feign ignorance and be like, oh, yes, I remember you. You're that guy. Shut up and leave me alone.
That's so funny.
But anyways, that's not Miguel, so we're going to stop talking about him. So, after all their skirmish and preventing all of time being destroyed, Miguel is actually close to the brink of killing his grandfather, Tiberius Stone, who tried to rewrite all of time and space through this accident. But he realized, of course, that killing his grandfather would
kill his father,
would destroy all the future, because Alchemax is a big deal. This is the man who would found Alchemax. He eventually learned, after they saved the day, that Tyler Stone, his father, destroyed the time portal in 2099. So Miguel is now stuck in 2015.
In present day Marvel Universe.
And accidentally, him staying around caused Liz Allen and Ty Stone to found a company called Alchemax. And now Alchemax is in modern day Spider-Man continuity, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's really cool. As soon as they named that new company, I was like, yes! Because it's supposed to be like Osborne Chemicals, and I can't remember the name of the other. I mean, that's where the cat comes from. So, this inspires Miguel to masquerade as Michael O'Hara and eventually become Ty's new assistant. He convinces Ty how smart he is, and he becomes Ty's assistant. So he can basically like safeguard his grandfather.
Yeah.
But his grandfather's kind of an ass. He's a big ass. So
he has a big ass.
Yep. Well, he's a dick. Okay, so he has some more adventures as in a new Spider-Man 2099 series written by series creator Peter David with art drawn by Will Sliney. And this is when Spider-Verse happens. Mm-hmm. Ashley, what's Spider-Verse?
Spider-Verse is when Dan Slott was like, hey, I write Spider-Man. I want to write all the Spider-Mans. And they brought all of the Spider-Mans from different universes all together.
Basically, you find out there's a race of inheritors. And this is the race
It's the totem thing, right?
Yes, and this is the race that Moreland comes from. And they can travel through the multiverse. So they're killing spiders across the multiverse. And Spider-Man 2099 joins in this time travel adventure. And once the inheritors are defeated, the members of the Spider Army find out that they can all return to their own time.
Yes.
And so Miguel's like, yes, I can finally return to 2099. So he hops through the portal and he's like, I'm home, baby. However, he finds out that he's in a post-apocalyptic wasteland where Alchemax is destroyed and his world is ruled by the Maestro. The Maestro is the older Hulk that is a super genius with a big white beard, who actually mistakes Miguel for the original Spider-Man. The Maestro beats Miguel into submission and places him in a cell with Doctor Strange 2099. And him and Strange develop a plan to escape. And what they do, they successfully jump on Doctor Doom's time platform, and Miguel returns back to Earth 616. Aww. Because he can't figure out how to get back to his own future. And that's where we are with Secret Wars, and that's where the new series will pick off, because he's still in the 616, and he has a new costume, which is mostly white, and I don't think it's cool.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yep. But Ashley, that's not the only Spider-Man 2099 that's out there.
Wait, what?
There's another Spider-Man 2099 from another universe. A member of a team called the Exiles. Ashley, who are the Exiles?
They're an X-Men team. Kind of.
Sort of. The Exiles is an X-Men team that consists of characters from different dimensions, realities, which have been removed from time and space in order to correct problems. Often in their series, they call them hiccups. And they basically travel through the multiverse. Is
Nightcrawler on that team?
Blink was on that team. I don't think Nightcrawler was on the team. They were originally created by Judd Winnick and artist Mike McKone. And in that version, eventually that Spider-Man 2099 got left behind in a reality with Mary Jane Watson, and he and Mary Jane Watson became boyfriend and girlfriend. And that version
That's kind of cool.
That version of Spider-Man 2099 was killed by Moreland in Spider-Verse.
That's right. Oh my God, that is right.
Yeah. There also is another Spider-Man 2099 that I'm basically not going to mention. He was in this weird mini-series called Time Storm, where it was a Miguel O'Hara that was Spider-Man 2099, but he didn't have the history that I just told you. He also, thankfully, was killed by Moreland in Spider-Verse.
Dan Slott just pruning those spider trees.
It was really cool because that issue, you were reading it, and you were like, wait a minute, this isn't Spider-Man 2099. And then you were like, oh, it's the Time Storm version. Oh, it's the Exiles version. And of course, they both
dead.
Yep. In other media, a Spider-Man 2099 animated series was in development in 1999. However, because it did not have the connections to Spider-Man supporting characters, because the upcoming movie, it was shelved in favor of Spider-Man Unlimited. And that's where Spider-Man goes to an alien planet and fights vampires and werewolves and stuff.
You know, I think that could make a really great TV show, the way that Batman Beyond really took off.
It could. And that I wish we would have got that cartoon instead of Spider-Man Unlimited, because Spider-Man Unlimited is horrid. Spider-Man 2099 also appears in the third season of the animated Disney XD version Ultimate Spider-Man. He's voiced by Freddy Rodriguez. And Spider-Man 2099 is one of the 4 versions of Spider-Man that is playable as a protagonist in Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, which is an awesome game. And he's voiced by Dan Gilvezan, who was Peter Parker's voice in the 1980s cartoon Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Oh, no way.
Now, the coolest thing about that version is that version, and I might be forgetting one, has regular Peter Parker. It has Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Man 2099, and I can't remember the other version. Oh, Lord. I don't remember the other version off the top of my head.
But there were only 4?
But the cool thing, yes, there's only 4, and the cool thing is that they cast all the Spider-Men with former voice actors that had played them in the cartoons. So of course, I'm looking at it right now. I think it was just Black Spider-Man. Yes, this the Venom suit Spider-Man.
Oh, Neil Patrick Harris did a voice.
Because Neil Patrick Harris played Spider-Man in the MTV series.
Oh.
Christopher Daniel Barnes was the voice in the 1990s, and Josh Keaton was the voice in Spectacular Spider-Man. So they brought all 4 of them to voice the different Spider-Mans, which I think is a really cool aspect of the game.
Josh Keaton, who also does voices in Green Lantern, the animated series.
Yes, he's Hal Jordan, right?
He is Hal Jordan.
Spider-Man 2099 is also a playable character in Spider-Man Edge of Time, and he's voiced by Christopher Daniel Barnes, who was the voice of the 90s Spider-Man series.
That's really cool.
And I own it. You fight a lot of robot drones. It's okay, but it's not great. And I never beat it because it sucks.
Yeah.
And that's all for Spider-Man 2099. That's as much 2099 I can give you. I know we went really long on this, but this is one of my favorite characters, so I didn't want to leave anything out.
It's really interesting, too.
Are you intrigued by this character?
I am intrigued. I'm actually like, I should read this character now.
We're going to get to this. We're going to go for the recommended reading.
Yep.
There's only 3 trades. That's it. There is Spider-Man 2099 Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. Now, this collects Spider-Man Volume 2099 Volume 1, 1 through 10, 11 through 14, and 15 through 22, including the last one, Volume 3, collects that Fall of the Hammer storyline I told you about. So it has like issues from Doom and X-Men and stuff like that. They've done 3 volumes of this. I really hope they collect the whole series because 40 issues is not that much.
Yeah.
The new Marvel stuff is good.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's great. But you won't understand it.
Without the context of everything else.
You need everything else or you're not going to understand it. So if you want to read Spider-Man 2099, you can read there. On the Marvel Unlimited app, they have the first 10 issues. On Comixology, they have the first 25 issues of Spider-Man 2099. So it's impossible to read the whole series. It's not out there.
Wow.
So I hope they put it in trades. It's very 90s, but it really connected with me, and which we can talk a little bit about more in our discussion.
Cool.
Ashley, I wanted to ask you, I just told you everything you need to know about Spider-Man 2099,
yes.
and I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I hope
did.
Listeners out there enjoyed the lesson. Why do you think alternate future versions of classic characters last the test of time? Now, because
most of them don't.
Well, true, but we have a couple of Spider-Man 2099, and then there's, of course, Batman Beyond. They're very similar.
Yeah.
I can't actually think of any other ones, but why those?
Well, even something like Old Man Logan.
It's a little different because it's still Wolverine.
That's true.
It has to be like a different person. Why do you think? Well, let's just say those two. Why do you think Batman Beyond? What do you think Spider-Man 2099 has lasted?
The same way that I think legacy characters last, because you have this archetype of this character that you like: Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, whoever. And when you take a legacy character, which is what these characters are, they might not have been directly trained, in the kind of Robin style, but
totally.
They're descendant of these original archetypes. But you get to play with different aspects of their personality, and you get to improve on some of the things that people either like don't like from the original characters, or we get to do the opposite of what we saw them do, and we usually get to give them a cooler costume.
Yeah, I will say that I think that's a reason why Spider-Man and Batman have lasted, because they have Batman Beyond and Spider-Man 2099 have two of the coolest designs.
Yeah.
Like, they stand out.
They do.
And that's why, like, again, that new Spider-Man 2099 series, I can't believe they're changing the classic costume.
Yeah.
Because even when they brought him back a couple years ago, they kept the classic costume.
Well, and sometimes a character, especially a character created in the 80s or the 90s, sometimes they do need a costume update. But Spidey 2099 looks so cool. It's like, why would you bother just for the sake of doing it?
No, don't bother it. Don't bother. That's when they brought the series back, they actually had the original like first 5 issues. They had variant covers by Rick Leonardi. And
I remember that. Yeah.
And because we would go into a comic book shop and they were like $10, and it was the only time I've ever been like, oh, should I buy that?
Yeah.
Because I liked that Rick Leonardi was drawing it. I will say it's interesting. I don't know what it is, but I know in the 90s I tended to connect to these loners who had familial issues, but succeeded because Kyle Rayner, I think, is the same type of character.
Because you were a young man and you were turning into a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Yeah,
because regardless of what your home life is actually like, that's what everyone think their life is like. They think they're a loner and they think their family hates them.
Yeah. But it's interesting that Spider-Man 2099 is the one that connected to me the most on the Marvel side, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I liked him better than Peter Parker for a long time.
Did you like that because Peter Parker... they do try to create a lot of human drama with Peter Parker, but Peter Parker is a good guy and he does good guy things. Whereas Miguel O'Hara, it seems like undergoes quite a character arc
he does.
To get to being a good guy. So maybe that's what you found compelling.
Yeah, I think so. And also I found that he was more extreme and he also wasn't fighting crime a lot. It was more like, I'm going to try to change the world.
Yeah, that's a big idea.
Which is what... and a lot of times the police were always after him, so he was like a lot of times running from the police.
Well, it's the same kind of thing as a Batman character.
Yes, but it also was like the police were trying to beat down a protest, and he would stop the police from beating down the protest. That's like a lot of his stuff. I don't know. I mean, a lot of it probably was the look. I guarantee that's originally what it was, but...
That's interesting because you pitch it that way, and to me it sounds like, that character sounds a bit like Nightwing. And I know you're a big Nightwing fan.
I love Well, you know what? That
and even the look.
That first Nightwing series is the same thing, I think. It's that loner kid, like, trying to fight the system.
Yeah.
So you can tell where my head was at in the 90s. Cool. All right. Now we have got to the end where we are going to do the teaching tweet.
Yes, where Jason is going to sum up the immense amount of work he has just done explaining this to us in 140 characters or less.
Here we go. 140 characters on Spider-Man 2099. So many numbers. Okay, here we go. 2099 is the year of dystopia. That's why Spider-Man now has claws, fangs, and a badass costume to protect us. That's it.
That's awesome.
Yep. There you go. That was my lesson on Spider-Man 2099. As we know in the beginning... You said you didn't even know who this character was 2 years ago.
Nope.
How do you feel about the character now? Because I always like it when you don't know anything about the character.
Well, I have read one issue of Spider-Man 2099.
Was it Superior Spider-Man?
I don't know. You gave it to me because you had just read it. And you were like, read this. Lila's really funny and insults his clothes in it.
Oh,
because he's wearing a tuxedo.
It's the modern series. Yeah.
And you gave it to me and you were like, read this. And I was like, oh, this is pretty funny. I don't understand what's happening in this. But you were like, see, it's so great. I would very much like to go back and read it. Okay. So I know it's on Marvel Unlimited.
It's going to be a tough read for you. I can already tell you.
Yeah.
You're gonna rebut against a lot of it. And I would recommend this to any reader and to you as well. Try to put yourself in the head that I'm reading a 90s comic.
Yes.
It's not going to read like a modern comic. Because if you try to read it like a modern comic, you're going to get out of the first issue. But
I know, I read a lot of 90s Robin.
Yes. It's a very 90s comic. But I reread it, I think, about 6 months ago, the first 2 volumes of it, because I'm buying those trade paperbacks as they come out. The good stuff comes to the top.
The good stuff is still good.
It's still good. Like, so I can see there's enough there that I can see why I connected with it. Like, the stuff that I still like.
And you think that it's worth getting through the 90s stuff to get to the new stories?
Yes. But if you want to start with the new stories, here's what I'd say. I think I told you everything you need to know about Spider-Man 2099. If you're interested in that new series, this Geek History lesson, I think, tells you everything you need to know. But I would recommend going back to read the old stuff because Peter David is an Easter egg king.
Peter David is amazing.
Yes, he's quite good about slipping stuff in there for his. He loves rewarding longtime fans. He did it in Young Justice like crazy because there were jokes from issue 1 all throughout that series, and in the most recent series, there were a lot of the original series little touches,
little callbacks.
Yeah, and you won't get them unless you've read that series.
Interesting.
So there you go. That's it for this Geek History lesson on Spider-Man 2099, one of my favorite Marvel characters, one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. I remember when I bought his action figure, I freaked out.
Yes, I do too.
I don't I owned it way before I met you.
No, I know, but you've told me that story.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's it for this Geek History lesson. Ashley, if they want to tell us how awesome they think Spider-Man 2099 is, where can they do that on social media?
They can do that at geekhistorylesson.com, which is our Tumblr. All the likes and comments are open. You can also do that on facebook.com/geekhistorylesson.
And Ashley, where can they find you on Twitter if they want to be like, hey, how's your Spider-Man 2099 reading list coming?
You can tweet me at Ashley V. Robinson. And where can they come and ask you to clarify jokes that they're not sure about?
They can clarify that at Jawiin, that's Jawiin on Twitter, and at youtube.com/Twitter, not Twitter, youtube.com/Jawiin, Jawiin, which we also have the Red Shirt Diaries over there.
Every Monday, which you should go support and love, and Video Geek History Lessons if you don't like listening to audio versions, or maybe you're listening to the video version right now. I don't know. Also, we have some t-shirts out there. We have some mugs. We have a Geek History Lesson mug, which you can go find at our website, geekhistorylesson.com. Click on store. Every little bit helps the Mind University. And don't forget, download and subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher, because we love people that listen. Yes, we do.
So, Ashley.
So, Jason.
That's it for Geek History Lesson. I'm Jason O'Hara Inman.
I am Ashley Victoria Robinson, and Professor Extreme Spider-Man. Please take us away.
2099 is over.